If you watched League of Legends content from 2020 to 2021, you likely came across a channel called the LoL Analyst, which to this day is one of the fastest growing channels in League's history, gaining over 300,000 subscribers in just under a year by providing quick and clean guides to master your favorite champion while giving pro analysis. But there was one major problem. It was all stolen, and even worse, no one seemed to notice. And when I say stolen, I mean not just the video ideas, but also the editing style, thumbnails, and even the background music that were all so blatantly copied that it literally ended up in the filing of a full-on lawsuit against the channel's owner. But before we get into all the madness that came from this massive channel's lies, let's first get up to speed on the context that led up to these events. Now, as for myself, I actually came across the LoL Analyst guides pretty early on into their existence, early in the summer of 2020, and was instantly hooked by how quick and straightforward the videos were, and based on the comments, I clearly wasn't the only one. Though the channel had a previous history of posting SKT videos, he had privated them in favor of posting in-depth guides on player mechanics, champion strategies, and other ways to improve at League. And though a lot of his content has been since deleted today to hide evidence, by the videos that have survived, we can tell that they were very popular, especially compared to the OMG one-shot broken Korean build thumbnails that plague League content even to this day. But though this level of simplicity was appreciated, it didn't take long for people to begin noticing that something was a bit off. For starters, a large batch of the LoL Analyst's most popular videos were suddenly deleted without much explanation. That is, until in a now deleted community post he explained that some unnamed channel messaged him to take them down against his will, which if you're only considering this one perspective would seem like a bummer, since after all, League guide videos have a tendency to be similar, and the LoL Analyst even specified that this mystery channel had been an inspiration for him in the first place. Also, I find it very interesting how he states that he agreed to take down these videos since he, quote, didn't want any trouble, but we'll come back to that statement in just a moment. First, before we dive into the evidence on both sides of this case between the LoL Analyst and the unnamed channel that he mentioned, it's important that we understand the crucial difference between having creative inspiration versus just outright plagiarism. When someone creates something from inspiration, they do so by taking the small things that they like about similar products and combining them in a way that makes their product a unique contribution, combining their own vision with small elements of others' works in a way that is actually transformative, whereas plagiarism is basically when someone takes a large majority of what someone else has already made, makes very slight changes that don't show evidence of their own originality, and publishes it as their own. It can definitely be a hard line to draw in some cases, but it is there nonetheless. And it was plagiarism that the LoL Analyst was being accused of by this channel that he still had yet to name. However, it didn't take long for this anonymous creator to come forward and present their side of the story, a smaller Korean channel with some English subtitling that goes by the name of Dobby. You see, Dobby had also been uploading guides on League as well, but was only seeing a fraction of the success that the LoL Analyst was getting with his English audience, and growing frustrated with this lack of credit, had finally acted on it by copy striking this massively growing channel. But like I mentioned earlier, there are lots of guide channels in League's content sphere, so just how similar were they? Well, for starters, before you even get into the video itself, if you take a look at the video's thumbnail style, you can tell that they function very similarly with a single line of text and a picture of some gameplay, which isn't really a big deal on its own, but as you may have expected, things of course get much worse. When it comes to the editing style of both videos, both of them use the same songs from NCS's copyright-free music, use the same pacing, use the same types of gameplay visuals, and both often end with a 1 to 2 minute montage of pro players styling on their opponents with the skills and tips that were explained in the guide. And though the LoL Analyst has since deleted many of his videos from this time period, in this post from Dobby about the issue, he specifically called out many of these now deleted videos for being on the literal exact same topics he would post about just a couple of days prior, with this happening on multiple occasions. In fact, this one surviving screenshot comparison shows that some of the lines used in the LOL analyst videos were literally bar for bar what Dobby had written in Korean just a few days prior, which makes sense as the LOL analyst turned out to be a native Korean speaker and would have been able to translate whatever Dobby wrote. But even despite the fact that these videos were shockingly similar in, well, basically everything, and that Dobby was always being ahead of the LOL analyst in terms of posting the same videos, there were still some people that somehow came to the conclusion that this wasn't plagiarism. And while I generally try to see both sides on these types of things, let me quickly explain why this opinion is just frankly wrong. At the very best, some people argued that this stolen content was, quote, inspired by Dobby since it used his editing style, topics, and basically every other video element as a template for what was essentially just the same video, but in English. And I don't think I need to explain that it is much harder to research, scriptwrite, and capture footage than it is to translate an already existing script. Not to mention that the biggest smoking gun that proves that the LOL analyst knew what he was doing was wrong is that nowhere on the channel does it say anything about Dobby's channel as an inspiration, instead saying that some unnamed channel was the inspiration for this content until that line was eventually removed too. In fact, if you scroll through the LOL analyst channel even to this day, you probably won't find evidence of Dobby's name anywhere, including the comments section, as by using YouTube's specific word moderation, anything that remotely mentions Dobby or his channel is automatically hidden from view, meaning that the LOL analyst viewers had no way of knowing the dark truth behind his millions of views of stolen content. Well, that is until a massive expose hit the League subreddit to over 12,000 upvotes that went over a lot of the points that we've gone over so far. But something we haven't mentioned yet is that this theft was not only happening on YouTube, but also to over 100,000 followers on a now deleted Facebook page of all places, and still things didn't stop there. After Dobby began rightfully striking down the LOL analyst content for being pretty much just rebranded copies of their original videos, the LOL analyst once again took to his community page to claim that his supposedly original works were being taken down for just no reason, and that as a result, he would be creating a second channel to re-upload these taken down videos. Now, I don't really understand the logic behind trying to create a supposedly secret channel by announcing it publicly and then literally calling it LOL Analyst 2, but then again, this guy couldn't be bothered to find different NCS copyright-free music songs than what Dobby already used, so yeah, he might not exactly be the sharpest tool in the shed. Thankfully, Dobby recognized this incredibly clear sign of trying to evade a ban from YouTube and stated that they would be taking this matter to the courts, where, as you may have expected, the LOL analyst got absolutely dunked on. As many of his videos were taken down, his second channel was deleted, and his main channel still remains just an inactive shell of its former self, with the other parts of this stolen content being outright deleted with very few screenshots remaining. But thankfully for Dobby, his hard fight to preserve his content finally led to his incredible videos gaining the recognition that they deserved, not just on his Korean channel, but on a newer, even larger one as well. Since this controversy, Dobby has been working with the translator to run a pretty successful guide channel even to this very day that provides the quality content he has always made before, but this time being in a language that the LOL analyst made audience could understand. And though it hasn't yet reached the heights that the LOL analyst channel did, part of the reason I wanted to make this video in the first place is just to highlight their amazing work and also provide a happy ending for all their efforts. So if you want quality guide content, please go and subscribe to them, and of course if you enjoyed this video, I'd love to have you as well. But yeah, with that all being said, hope you guys have a great rest of your day or night. As always, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Later!